Good afternoon, everybody. Um, we have a extreme good set of panelists today to discuss about optimizing cost and performance and strategies for cloud multi-cloud performance and the environment. Now, the rapid adoption of multi-cloud environments has become a prevalent trend among enterprises seeking to leverage the benefits of diverse cloud platforms. This has become a necessity as software as a service and generative AI based products become more ingrained into the enterprises of today. However, managing these costs, optimizing performance in these complex landscape poses a significant challenges to the organization, where organizations not only have to embrace multi-cloud strategies, they also sometimes struggle to control the cloud spend, allocate resources efficiently, and ensure optimal application performance. Discuss all of this. Today we have an expert panel, and I would like to introduce them. Mr. Gyan Pandey, who is the head of digital and the CDO of Voltas. Welcome to have you, Gyan.
Thank you.
Saugata Basu, Group Chief Digital and Information Officer of Kalpataru. Good afternoon, Saugata.
Thank you, Kusuru.
Rajiv Khade, who is the Vice President and the Global Head IT of Amazon Technologies. Welcome, Rajiv.
Thank you so much.
So, the first question which I want to pose to the panelists, is what are the key challenges which you are facing in your organization in controlling the cloud spend, specifically on the multi-cloud, to maximize the performance? And if you can share some real examples, what you're facing, the challenges, I think we could start the discussion on that matter. Gyan, can I ask you this question first? And then I would like to get an opinion from all the other panelists.
Thank you, Kushu. Let me put one fact here that, we as an organization, we are at the very early stage of adoption of cloud. When I say adoption of cloud, more I'm saying from the IaaS point. A lot of SaaS applications are already there, but on the infrastructure as a service or platform as a service, we have just started the journey. And multi-cloud is one of the things which we have been kind of moving in. Now, keeping that every organization, every business is focused on taking the digital transformation on their fast track mode and all. Digital infrastructure or enabling the organizations to embrace the digital journey in a faster way and a secured way. This is imperative that, we should have this digital infrastructure being enabled, and for cloud becomes the necessity. Of course, it may not be 100% cloud. It could be hybrid. And this will also lead to a kind of a multi-cloud environment, because you can't get locked to the single service provider. You de-risk from that aspect. You have to go to the other partner as well. And this also gives you sometimes the commercial considerations, where there are incentivizations or the bonuses or free credits, which basically attracts you to move on. But going on a multi-cloud in the start of the journey, it always looks kind of smoother or easier. But managing the cost and how we can more regulate those costs and all, it's a challenge. Though we are yet to experience, but based on my past experiences and listening from the experts, panelists like here and all, I can share my views. Basically, once you move from the on-premise to the cloud and having the multi-cloud environment, the visibility becomes a bigger challenge. What is happening in one cloud, and you can see from the console of that particular cloud. To look into the other cloud, you need to have another console. You do not have the full visibility or central visibility. And then looking into the details, the utilizations of that, whether we feel that, it is an elastic cloud, right? Now as the load expands, probably this will also expand, and then based on that, costing will happen. But many times we end up buying the reserve instances because of the performance issues or because of the recommendations from the OEM, and then it becomes probably more costlier in terms of managing that in cloud than on the on-premise. So before going on to this cloud environment, we have a very clear direction that, okay, what workloads we should take into that and what we should not. Basically, over a period, most of the workloads, even the traditional on-premise, also will be moving to the on cloud, bringing a lot of flexibility and accessibility and all. But currently, what we thought is that, okay, the workloads which are basically exposed to the customer, that should be on the cloud, because this will remove all your form factor, availability, connectivity, network issues and all. Second is that the one on which we want to be to move on very fast, and we do not know what will be the usage and how fast we need to move on those kind of workloads. And then the work where the tech refresh is getting due. So that's a right, basically, use case where you see that, okay, whether it is on-premise or whether it is making to the on-cloud. Cloud as a first strategy, of course, even those things will be also moving to cloud. Now, when you are in such a start of the journey, in the year 1 or year 2, probably we will not face that. But moment you go a significant or the critical volume of your workload in the cloud, the cost optimization will become an issue, because not having a central control and not having the full visibility in terms of efficiency, utilization, usage, and to basically measure and monitor the different clouds. So unless you monitor something, you cannot control it. Now, if I have to monitor if my workload is in the AWS, I need to use the AWS related tool, or if I am in the Azure related tools. And these tools are depending on the person's expertise on those technologies, they can bring insights. So the challenges is, one is the basically the visibility. Then second is these different clouds service provider, they have the different, again, metrics in terms of billing, in terms of the pricing, which most of the times your own in-house team who will be going to manage this, for them it is a kind of a cultural change or transformation, because they have been so far managing on the on-premise, how they have to get tuned to the manage the cloud part and all. And even if the pricing part and all, they might not be very, very sensitive, because they're more a technical people and all. So some kind of visibility in terms of pricing, utilizations, and what best can be utilized. Then third part is that having a right governance model. That means you keep on monitoring and keep on seeing that where the utilizations are lesser, how we can make it more efficient, how we can basically optimize that. And for that, you definitely need some kind of tool. We have not yet reached to that stage, but we started discussing this part that, okay, what kind of the relevant tools could be. And couple of tools which we have been basically discussing and deliberating in between is that VMware tool that is called, I think, Cloud Health, and there is a one Right Scale tool. There are other some tools which I don't remember the names and all, but we definitely need to have some tool which will give you the central visibility and also how the cost can be optimized, the recommendations engines, where it is less effectively used and where probably we have done the provisioning more and not utilizing it. Those things it will bring into the light. One important part which is coming nowadays that, okay, the IT is no more a cost center, and most of the initiatives on the digital is goes from the business budget. When you move something to the cloud, it is very difficult to convince to the business that why the prices are moving up and down, because there will be some uses will be higher, your internet bandwidth consumption will be more. Then you have maybe at times when the scale peaks up, it will expand and your whole infra cost will go high. So convincing to the departments and functions or the business group, because they will not have the same kind of understanding. You need to have the team to basically get aligned with that, and so these parts can be done properly. And the other challenge which is across the industry, whether you are in the early part or the later part, if you go to the multi-cloud, definitely each cloud has its own tool, its own terminology, its own different types of services. There is not, I think I will not say apple to apple match, but there are close matches to their services, but those are very specific skills to the specific cloud. So if you have your workload distributed across multiple cloud, to de-risk yourself from a single vendor locking up or a commercial advantage, then you come in with a risk that, okay, you might have the skill set or you have the partner resources who are not fully utilized. And that becomes where you are trying to control a cost at one side, here your cost will bleed again.
Understood. Thank you for that. Now, so Gata, from a Kalpataru enterprise requirement, I'm pretty sure that with the advancements in the retail space, okay, of all of your group of companies, what are the kind of challenges you have faced?
So, from a cloud deployment perspective at Kalpataru, over the last 18 months, we have made a lot of progress. I think we have moved most of our infrastructure onto a private cloud. And we had to go private because we still had some assets which needed to be co-located. So while we looked at public cloud, but at least as a starting point, we have moved everything onto a private cloud. We are also fairly large consumers of SaaS solutions. So if I look at the split, it's 75-25. I think typically there are 2-3 major challenges which we are facing from a cloud cost perspective. One is that when we as CIOs look at cloud, it's largely from a infrastructure angle only, and we realize afterwards that the network and security is a big component of this overall solution. And sometimes when you don't architect that correctly or you don't factor that in correctly, there is a lot of retrospective refitting which you need to do in your overall IT landscape, where the costs kind of tend to run out of control. As an example, I'll give you, we had a BI solution which used to store the data in a very compressed form. But when you want to run a report, it actually quantifies the data 7 times from the way it is stored. So the kind of bandwidth consumption when you're running reports, or the kind of storage which you need on a real-time basis, it through our cost computation of cloud haywire, it really required us when we wanted to redeploy these solutions. So that was a big learning, that you need to take a good look at your applications. Are they ready for cloud? And also your networks, are they robust enough to support the cloud deployment? The second big challenge, and maybe this is where I will seek guidance from the experts here also, is that we are a very global organization. So we run a lot of business in almost all the continents, largely more in South Africa, Australia, and South America, and a little bit in Europe. And this data residency laws and the constant now focus of countries to tighten and control their information, their customers' information, I think it is probably forcing us to revisit our cloud strategies. Earlier we were thinking of one humongous cloud. Let's say you go to a public cloud and you host everything there, and it is possible today to run businesses globally from one cloud service provider. Now, from a perspective of regulation, from a perspective of mergers and acquisitions, where you buy and sell organizations kind of as a business strategy, we also need to be a little bit more agile. We cannot tie ourselves very tightly into one service provider, because sometimes you have to decouple either due to regulations, or sometimes you have to bring data back into multiple countries and store them, even if it is in a dormant form, so that you can spin it up and meet regulatory requirements. This is again a big part of regulatory framework, which I think as CIOs we need to start understanding more and more now. The third piece is probably a more of a skill set issue, and Gyan hinted on that when you are having multiple clouds, your visibility is a challenge, your governance is a challenge. And I think this is where you need probably a new role, like a commercial IT guy who understands these contracts very well and is able to basically drive benefits out of this contract. What should get deployed on cloud? What should we go for a 2 years lock-in? What should we do by, on demand? What we can actually dispense of by not having a DR set up at all, because the cloud service provider automatically is backing up your data server. So somebody who's technical but is also very strong commercially and contractually is a role which is becoming more and more critical in the IT function, and I see a lack of skill in this area. So that's kind of something which is affecting us.
Very good points. Very good points. And I think the entire issue is about data residency, specifically for a multi-country, multi-tenanted environment.
That's right.
Is certainly going to have an impact, and perhaps whether it's the public cloud or the multi-cloud environments.
Correct.
And of course, the security around it, on the cybersecurity, the data security, are going to become a very, I would say, an extremely high-end agenda, which perhaps will also have to be taken at the board level, because data privacy laws are becoming, and I think they have to be followed per country basis.
Yes, and
Very good points.
And things like certain coming in also tightens the time of response for CIOs now, so you cannot.
Absolutely. It's becoming it's time bound. Now let me go up to Rajiv. Okay. Rajiv, what have been your experiences with the multi-cloud environment, and what are the kind of challenges you have faced?
All right. Thank you so much. Very good question, I can say. See, in our case, we had the challenge of selecting the various multi-cloud the service providers, which service provider to be selected. So it need to be done a very calculated homework for that, as to which all applications, which all things, workloads you need to move to cloud, and which cloud for that matter. So that needs to be done on a very calculated basis, as I said. And as Gyan and other people said about the visibility, so that is also the important. So we had that challenge also, having a visibility from a single kind of dashboard as to what is happening on the application that we are transferred to the cloud, and on which cloud, how the application is performing. So that was one of the challenge that we faced. And other things which I echo with other panel members is about governance and the optimization. Similar things also we faced at our case, wherein once you move to the cloud, yes, everything is fine, going in, stabilized and everything. But the very important thing that we as CIO need to do is about optimization. So that was one of the challenge that we were facing. And once you are shifted to the cloud, then we have to do the optimization phase, because everything is not fair and good once you shift to the cloud. You need to fine tune it. You need to fine tune the infrastructure, the compute power, the monitor the cost aspect. So the very important thing, according to me, is optimization as to how you optimize your workload after shifting to the cloud. So that was one of the challenges that we faced. And another thing which I would like to add to other fellow members, what they said was about the DR and BCP that we always talk about. So once you shift the workload to the cloud, then we as IT head needs to plan for a disaster recovery, plan for a business continuity plan, as to what if, due to some reasons, the workload doesn't continue to function. Then what is the backup strategy that you have? So in my previous organization, we had the downtime allowed by business was in several hours. But for me as an IT person, I was not accepting that. It cannot be several hours. Business downtime cannot be several hours. So from, say, 24 hours, which was allowed, we brought it down to, it is a surprising, and nobody will believe that, but we brought it down to 15 minutes. So that was one of the biggest challenges that we faced in a multi-cloud environment. So having a proper DR and BCP strategy in place, and accordingly plan and execute that strategy, and bring down the downtime to the bare minimum possible. So that is what important challenge that we faced, and we could really, IT team really could work on that and minimize that. And optimization phase was very good. So optimization is very good according to me. So those are my views, Mr. Mistry, on that.
Thank you for that. I think across the board, you all have indicated something which is called observability on the cloud, as one of the challenges. The governance under a multi-cloud strategy is still a challenge. I think even data residency could be a challenge. Okay. Now, if I can turn the question around and I can go back to Saugata. Okay. What kind of techniques or tools have you sort of tried to embed in order to overcome these challenges?
So I think if you look at tools, what we are trying to do is basically have a set of KPIs which clearly articulates how we are performing, not only on the technical parameters, but also on commercial parameters and What the business wants is more on the availability parameters. So if you look at any solution, sometimes the technical person finds it very easy to say that things are fine because that's what the raw data shows you. But at a business level, things are not getting delivered. So what we are doing is not just looking at, let's say, uptime. What we are also looking at is my transaction happening at the given speed? So if I'm using SAP, and is SAP transaction getting saved at this nanosecond which it's supposed to do, or are the users experiencing difficulty in that? Is the report which was supposed to have run overnight every day, is it going beyond 8 o'clock, or are we able to optimize it better because we are using cloud? So I think we are trying to look for a continuous improvement because we are on cloud, rather than sitting static on what we started with at the beginning of the project. So that is one. The second piece is that we are also trying to see what more can we do on cloud. So for example, we are trying to see, can we do database consolidation? Can we do license optimization? Because we have moved to cloud, is there a different way of approaching this particular problem which will, let's say, save us SQL Server licenses? And we are seeing, for us, it's still only 1.5 years, but we do see a lot of potential. Yesterday, Gyan and I were at an event hosted by another partner, where partners are offering you services where they can look at your licenses and your IT landscape and then come with a strategy where you can actually drive much more value out of your investments. And then they will probably take a share of the value saved, which is a fantastic,
which is more of an outcome based rather than a fixed cost.
Absolutely.
Very interesting.
Starting these conversations now with the partners. So I think that is so. So I still feel we are at a very early stage of maybe the maturity curve on how will we write this new devil called the cloud. But I think we're making good progress now.
Very good. Jan, a quick question for you. Okay. I know you spoke about the strategy and the tools. Okay. In your organization, have you started to utilize tools which have in-depth observability on your applications? Okay. So have you started to evaluate these tools for your organization on the cloud?
To be very honest, we are yet to, but we have been basically deliberating on that. However, what I will say here is that going on a cloud is, before going on the cloud, the planning and having a right strategy for that is a must. And on that front, we have done a good exercise. Sometimes the license optimization becomes one of the lever. Probably on-premise licenses can be leveraged on cloud. So we move those workloads there. But there could be similar or parallel applications which probably be consuming data from that. So is it still fair to be on the same cloud or other cloud? Then how about the interoperability and all? And how those can be basically addressed in terms of, let's say, if you are interoperable, you have you have a, let's say, data warehouse which is transactional running on one cloud, and then you want to create a data lake and data insights another cloud, and you don't want to basically replicate the entire data warehouse what you have created from the transactional system again to the data lake. Can data lake consume the data warehouse part and still bring the insight? So these things, and of course the performance and the underlying things before we move your network security in the place and all. I believe what Shogata pointed out in his previous question, that in terms of the compliances and in terms of network security, IT side network security becoming far more critical, because every time you change the cloud and every time you have some let's say refresh happened on the infrastructure side and all, and your applications surrounding the ecosystem, because there will be a lot of consumption integration of the data, especially on the customer and the services side, which at times may not perform with the same level, or it may not perform at all. So troubleshooting and all become a problem. So to pinpoint where is the problem, is it the device, is it the last mile operator, is the network, is the cloud, where it is, that has become one of the priority. And we are yet to be on that journey to start with, but we are discussing internally on that.
Very good. Very good. Excellent points. So Rajiv, if I have to ask you,
Yeah,
what are, what kind of guidance would you provide the CIOs, the CDOs? And I think a new term which has been recently been formulated by, I would say, Gartner as a digital chief information slash digital officers. So they call them DCXOs. All right. Gartner comes up with all of these, adjectives, I would say. But if you had to give some guidance to all the CIOs, the CDOs, the CISOs, specifically in a multi-cloud environment, what are the three things which you would like to give as guidance to the CIOs?
Very nice. Very good question. Now, whatever I will answer to your question comes out from my very fresh experience in the previous organization, wherein we shifted our various workloads to the cloud. So, what we did was, first of all, first and foremost, as an organization and the CIOs or the IT heads should push is to have a proper strategy in place. It should not happen that some other organizations have moved to the cloud. That's why we also should move to the cloud. No, it should not be like that. A proper, well let down strategy should be in place as to what should be moved to the cloud, why it should be moved to the cloud, which cloud it should be moved, how it should be moved. So all these what's, ifs, why, how should be answered by the CIO for himself first, so that he gets the confidence and he gives the confidence to the IT team to move to the cloud. So doing a proper homework by the CIO, the IT head, is very, very important before moving to the cloud. Second important thing that I would like to suggest to the CIO is that once you are decided to move to the cloud, then selection of a particular service provider and selection of an implementation partner. Somebody should be there to implement this cloud strategy for your organization. So selection of a service provider and also an implementation partner is very, very important. Study the implementation partner in such a way that this implementation partner has the right skill set. He has the right set of people who can help us in transferring the workloads to the cloud. And that particular implementation partner has the right experience of a similar use case as you're moving to the cloud. And if required, please do the reference check also, because I have done that personally before selecting an implementation partner. So selection of an implementation partner, according to me, is very important. And then, as I said earlier, which applications to be shifted to the cloud. So while deciding that, you have to have a watch on your data size also, because once you select an application, then the what amount of data has been accumulated over the years, that needs to be studied. Because once you start working on a cloud, then all the commercials are based on a soft basis. Just like the compute is available, elastic compute is available, then your actual meter starts as you start working on that. So once you start working on that, afterwards it should not happen that the monthly or the quarterly bills are huge. So a check on the data size of the application has also to be there. Another thing is that while selecting an application, also have a watch on whether going ahead you will require the analytical capabilities of the cloud service provider. Whether the data that you are putting on the cloud, whether you will require an analytical angle to that to generate various reports, to generate various MIS. So that also needs to be kept in place. And during the exercise, before going live on a particular or a multi-cloud environment, what the IT team and the IT head has to do is the requisite amount of testing of the application. The application has been shifted, database has been shifted, the cloud is ready, everything is ready. One fine morning, you will be declaring go live on the cloud. But before that, your core team, the team from respective functions, has to do the proper testing and ensure that your application is functioning properly on the cloud. So that confidence level to the IT team and from the core team members has to be place, the IT head can declare that, yes, tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock, we are going live on cloud. So these are the various steps that we did at our previous organization, and at the current organization also we are doing. So this really helps in doing a kind of, I should say, a flawless execution of your cloud strategy. That really helps. So these are my suggestions to the IT team members.
Sure. Let me pose the same question to Saugata. All right. Um, what are the three key guidance advisories you will provide the CIOs on multi-cloud spend and multi-cloud strategy?
I quite like this question because it allows me to share experiences. I think the first one is something which I strongly believe in, that multi-cloud is a given for any large organization today. And in that context, the CIO slash CDO, if you are engaging to find a business case, it should be built more around the really business contextual variables like agility, scalability, innovation, which is much more easily customers leveraging cloud technology, or our ability to deploy a solution very, very quickly, especially during the COVID times, when physical travel was not possible. The ability to build small solutions and quickly deploy them on the cloud, which the customers could use to interact with us or transact with us, that was heavily proven as a success. Similarly, innovation. If I look at a situation where I have my assets on-prem or owned by me, my ability to work with small startups, or my ability to experiment on a technology which I am not sure what value it will deliver to the business, gets limited by my investment capabilities. Here, not only is cloud scalable, the partners are often more eager to work with you on use cases, because for them also it's an exposure to an industry and a learning curve. And as technology leaders, if you have that understanding that the partner is willing to work with you, you can deliver a lot more than what you originally started with. So that was the second big point which I wanted to make. And the last is, because the world has become so digital, because now cloud is so all pervasive, you will find that the business team themselves are coming with solutions or service providers which they have found somewhere or somebody has told them. And as technology people, there is no point in trying to push them away, because they will come, because that's what is delivering value to the business. So we must have an architecture, we must have a framework where we can quickly take such solutions into our larger IT ecosystem. If you do that, then the organization will grow faster but continue to remain same. Easier said than done, but that's my thought process.
Thank you. I think well articulated. Jan, in your opinion, okay, taking the extent of the kind of services which you offer from Voltas, what would be your three key points which you would like to highlight to the CIOs?
I think Saugata and Raju both have very well covered the part. What are the things the CIOs has to take care of right from the phases of, so pre and during has been most discussed by the Raju as well as the Saugata, in terms of what will be the strategy, how we are going to qualify certain workforce, how to partner, and all the how, when, how these things getting addressed. But we are an industry, we are looks like B2B and manufacturing, but we are B2B2C and D2C as well. And when it becomes like direct to customers and you are also reaching out to the customer, you need to be very, very agile. You need to embrace many of the digital technologies as early as possible in order to be competitive along with your peers. Because at times, technology adoptions is not only for the cost optimization, but also the whole ecosystem and your peer. Is if they are moving, you ought to have whether you are getting the right business return or not. One thing which I will definitely say here is that, okay, right from the strategy and all, you need to be always very, very careful about your infrastructure sizing and making it infrastructure secured, because you will still have a lot of workloads which will be running on your on-premise, but they will consume data. Your business users as well as your customers will consume data informations coming from both sides. To security, network infrastructure must be visited. And once you are moving the things to the cloud, Your FinOps is one part where you'll be keep watching on, and where probably you will learn how to do that, and over a period you will learn that things, maybe at times by burning your fingers or by learning lessons from them. But important part is the partnering with the right capable partner, who I will completely agree with the Shouda's point, that who is enthusiastic to work with you. It's not only the technology skills, but at times it is the industry verticals also have some of the specific needs, and where you have certain specific applications where performance and availability also becomes a challenge. So that also part needs to be considered. Now, third part, I will say that, okay, at the end, whether I am in the cloud or I am not in the cloud, at the end, my customers should have a better experience. And experience, when it comes, it is the availability and the speed and the performance. And along with that, what are the new things we are keep on constantly offering and engaging more and more with the customer? If I have my Voltas app, and on that, when he is trying to see certain things, and it takes 2 seconds for the customer, the attention span of the today's users is not that much that they will never use that. So we have to keep on sizing, resizing, revisiting, not only making this more performance oriented, but also how we can do a better engagements by adding more services and bringing more applications around that. Keeping always in mind that, okay, whatever you are going to offer, that will be demanded more from the business. And we as an IT must have created a framework or architecture where things can be deployed quickly in a secured manner.
Thank you.
Governance
Thank
is, so cloud governance is the very important things, I will say.
Thank you, Gan. So let me try and put this in a summary, okay, for our viewers. The panelists discuss the importance of cloud, multi-cloud, and a hybrid environment. Governance, security, cybersecurity, data residency was some of the key points which have been highlighted by the esteemed panelists. I think if all of these things are done clearly, articulated clearly to the business and the board, multi-cloud strategies are going to evolve in a much more prolonged manner, which will emphasize and provide guidance to how the businesses of the future will evolve. So thank you very much for your time. Okay, it has been a great discussion, and I wish you all a very good evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Khusro.
Thank you.
Rajiv and
Thank
Gan.
you.
Thanks, Sasu. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
For more updates from CXO TV, please like and subscribe to our channel.